we're back with our final episode of our slab stacking game. It should be fairly short because we've only really got two things left to do for this game, and that is to... I've already forgotten. What is it? It's to add some sort of UI to the game so we can keep track of the score whenever we're going to make it so each slab is equal to one score, well, 1 point. So whenever the game instantiates a new slab, which means you still have some part of the slab left over, you'll get an extra point for that. And then another thing I want to try is to try and change the color of the slabs, because at the moment they're all red, but I want them to be kind of like a gradient. So it starts off at one color and then it slowly makes its way towards through the different colors. So we'll try and do that. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see how far we get with that. Otherwise we might just make it a random color and using an array of different colors and just choose as a random color out of it. But I think it'll be nice to try and get the gradient because that will look pretty cool. So let's jump into it and get going. So I think we can probably start with the UI. So let's go and add a new text element. So let's import that. I think we're only going to have one text field, and then where is it? So let's double click on that. So we need to rotate this a little bit like that and bring this over here somehow. Okay, I hate this. Okay, so for our text, we want this to be our score. So let's go and rename this to score label. Actually, let's just go and rename it to score. If I can type and spell score, and then we'll put it in the top probably. We can probably stretch it out to be the entire width and then just center the text, and then we'll probably move it down just a little bit so it's not really touching the top of the screen. So move it down like that, and then we'll probably make it, we'll make it bold. We don't need to make it italic, doesn't need to be underlined. We'll center it in the text box, which we don't really need to do, but we'll do that. And then the color, let's make it like a greenish color because everyone likes green. So that's it for that. I think we can probably change the size down from 36 to maybe 30, like that. Let's just test and let's type in score. And that's going to be equal to 5 for now. Okay, so I don't like the size of it, so I'm going to make, actually, let's make it, yeah, we'll get rid of the bold, and then we will change the, actually, I like the bold. Let's change it to 25. Okay, so what we're going to do is, before we actually display the score, obviously the score is going to be 0 at the start of the game, so what we want to go and display is a message for the user to know how to start the game, and that's going to be click to play, just like that. So we could probably leave that like that, I guess. So we'll save that, and then we need to add in, let's go add in an empty object here, and this is going to house our score. Actually, we could probably let's just put it on I think we can just put it straight onto our score game object. So let's go and delete that, and then on our score we can add a component, and this is going to be our score script, or let's just make it UI. Actually, you know what, let's just do this how I normally do it, because who knows, maybe in the future we will add some other different UI elements. So we'll create a new game object and we'll name this UI manager, and we'll get rid of game object, call that game manager, and then on our game manager we will add a new script called score, and then we'll add that. So we'll drag it into our scripts folder, and then we can go and open that up. Okay, so on our score now we will have to do nothing. Okay, so well, that should be fine. We'll save that like that. Now on our, that's the wrong project. That's another project I'm working on. Don't know why that's open, but we'll close that. And then in our script here, we should have our score script, which we do. Open that up. So now I don't think we need any of those. So what we're going to do here is we want to go and say, actually, how are we going to do this? Whenever you click on the screen, you get an extra point because that means you have got another slab in the game. So we could probably do that in the, where is it? In the slab spawner. Actually, we can go and get rid of this because we don't really need that anymore. That was just to demonstrate where these slabs were being spawned into. So on our moving cube, stop, hangover. Okay, so this is where we actually, where do we look for our input? So it's been a while since I've worked on this, so let's see. If unenable, if last cube is equal to null, no update, move direction, stop. So this is where we call stop. So our stop method is to stop the actual cube, but where destroy, is it on destroy? No, that's to destroy our slabs when they fall. Game manager is here. So okay, here it is. So input, whenever we press down on our mouse button, we go and call the stop method, but we also go and spawn a new slab. So we could probably do it in one of these methods. We should probably do it in spawn slab, because if we don't have an overhang, or if we have too much of an overhang that the entire slab is the overhang, then we don't want to go and add another score or another one to the score. So we need to deal with that. But for now, let's go and get a reference to our score label in here. So in here we will go and say, first we need to import it using Text Mesh Pro. I think that's what it is, that one. Let's not do that. So I think that's fine. So in here we can go and say serialize field, private text Mesh Pro UGUI, and then we'll call this score label. And then we need to create a method that will add 1 to our score. So we also need to create a int. This needs to be a public int score that's going to contain the score value. So at the start of the game, it's obviously going to be 0, so we'll keep that at 0. And then what else do we need? We need a public void add score, we'll call it. So in here, all we want to do is go and say score plus plus, like that. And then we need our update method that I deleted by accident. So in our update method, we will go and say score label dot text is going to be equal to, how are we going to do this? It only needs to be equal to score, what am I doing? Score, like that, and then here we will have score, like that. So that's going to display the word score followed by the actual score of the player. So that will be fine. And then what we want to do is we only really want to display a score if the game has started. And also if the score is greater than 1. So let's just say if score is greater than 0, then we will go and update it, because otherwise I think it will change the click to play message at the top of the screen as soon as the game starts. So let's go and test that out. So we'll play the game and it's not going to work because we don't have any reference to our score label. So let's go and drag that in there, and then now let's try it. Okay, so it doesn't update, which is good, but we haven't really called add score yet. So what we want to do now is wherever we go and click on this method here in our update, this is where we want to go and adjust the score. So if the current moving cube is not equal to 0, then the moving cube needs to stop. Okay, so if it stops, let's go to this one. So if it stops, the move speed is equal to 0, it gets the hangover value. So we don't want to do it in there. We want to do, where were we? We were in here. Let's go to spawn slab. So if the last cube, let's see. Okay, so we're going to do it in here because if we spawn a new slab, that means that the game is carrying on, which means we do have to add another point to the score. So let's go and get that over here. So up here, we need to go and get reference to our score script. So where were we? It was in our slab spawner. So here we can go and say public. How we're going to do this? Public. This is going to be our UI manager. UI manager script. But this is going to be score because it is a score. That's the name of our script, but we'll call it UI manager script. I know it's confusing. This should really be named UI manager. We could probably change that. Actually, you know what? Let's just do that, UI manager, because then it makes more sense. So copy that, paste that there. Then we also need to change the name of it over here. Hopefully that works. So where were we? Over here. So UI manager script, that makes sense now. That's it, I think. And then in here we need to do this. What is it? Public game object UI manager. Okay, so that should be fine. Now let's go in our start. Bring back our start method, and then in here we can go and say UI manager script is going to be equal to UI manager dot get component. It's going to get the UI manager off of it, and that should be fine. So that should give us access to our script now. So now we can go. I'm going to test this out and say add score to the player. So here all we want to go and say is UI manager script dot add score. So that should handle our score. So we've saved everything. Now it's a moment of truth. Let's go and test it out. So we should see that our click to play message doesn't get taken away, but as soon as we that doesn't work because we haven't dragged and dropped things in, I don't think. So on our score, where was it? On our game manager? No, what is it? Slab spawner. So where is that? X and Y. So this we can make private. And then on our slab spawners, we need to drag and drop our UI manager. So let's go and select them and then drag that into there. And then now let's see if that makes a difference. So we play the game. Okay, so we've got a score of 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we don't, okay, so that's working nicely. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it's working. It's working how we want it to, which is a good sign. So now the only thing that's left is to go and figure out how to do the gradient. So let's go and do that. So we'll save everything that we've done so far, and now we need to find out where we are changing the color of our cube. So I think it's going to be in moving cube, or is it? I don't think we're changing the color of it anyway, to be honest. So we want to do this when we spawn a cube. So in our spawn method here we can, let's see, spawn slab. We have access to our slab, so let's just go and do it right here and see what we get. So this should really only take one line of code, and I've got it over here because I've written it down so I remember it. So let's go and see if it actually works. So what we need to do is we need to go onto our slab and do this. So here, let's go and say slab dot get component. I think we need to get our renderer off of it. So we get our renderer, and then using our renderer, we need to access our material, and then dot color. Or can we go and say dot set? Yes, dot set color. And then in here we need to go and say, okay, so it needs to have a name ID. So let's just try and give it a some random string, which will, I don't know, set just now. But for now, let's go and focus on the actual gradient. So here, let's go and try and say color, or how do you spell? How exactly? Or what am I saying? I'm confused. So here we need to go and say color, which is all the way at the bottom. Color dot hs, I think it's our one, HSVT or HSV to RGB. And then we need to access our level. So here we can go and say UI manager script dot level, or do we or score, because it's basically the same thing. Our score is the same as the level. So UI manager script dot score. So we need to put this in there. Oh, this is going to be divided by 100, and then that is going to be 1F. I can't remember what the sign means again. I know what it means, but can't think of the word. 1F, and then 1F, and then 1F. So that should, in theory, give us our gradient. So moment of truth, let's go and see if it works. So this is just a line that I found, I think it was on Stack Overflow or something, but let's go see exactly what happens. So here we've got a red cube, we carrying on with our red cube. Okay, so clearly that's not working. So let's go and see why, or see if we can figure it out. Maybe we might not even be able to, but who knows. So maybe it has something to do with this. So let's go and say color. And then who knows, maybe that will work. Because this is really the only thing that we have left on our in our game, because there's nothing else to do. So I know we have that little bit of a bug there, but I'm going to leave that for you guys to figure out if you want to. So I feel like we've got it working. So you can see it's kind of slightly changing from what's it called, from red to orange. So let's see. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so we can actually see. So let's see if we can play. Let's see how far we can get. So we've got red, and it's going to slightly change up to orange, which it is doing. And then I feel like it's going to go to yellow, which it's doing. And then it's going to make its way to green, which is doing it. And then it's going to go to, I guess, what's next? Blue, I think. Although I'm running out of space. So anyway, you can see that the idea of this game is exactly this: to stack your slabs on top of each other and see how far you can get. I think in that one we just did, we got up to about 24 or something. But it's also nice to see the different colors as the slabs get instantiated into the scene, and not just have one red color over and over again. But that is pretty much it for this game, so hopefully that made sense. I know it did take a long time for us to get this game done, and that is mainly because we had issues when closing this game and then reopening it, which is why I've actually left this game open on my computer for about 3 weeks now. I haven't even attempted to close it because I don't want to have to start this all over again. But it's done. We finished this game, so I think now we're gonna finish our our ChatGPT game, where we have to go and add in some UI for that game, and that's gonna be done after that. But then after that, we should get back to our Tetris game. We need to finish that because that will be a nice game to finish, and well, not to finish, but to work on. And then who knows what's after that? We might start another game, a 2D or 3D, who knows, we'll see. But that's pretty much it for today's episode, so thank you again for watching. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more Unity games. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the videos. Go ahead and like them if you did, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode. So enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.